flexes there that I'm looking at is the Maokai, a champion that has been so prevalent in pro play for years now, and potentially could allow for either of these teams to have that flexibility as well as guaranteed engage. Do you like Maokai from the jungle a little bit more? You get access to more gold and experience, where Maokai can be a little frail from the support position, obviously relying on his incredibly broken kit. EDG are going to keep their ban of that Azir and the Kindred, but this does mean that Wukong finally enters into the series here, and he's going to go over to Shun.
No Annie for the guaranteed combo duo that we've seen throughout LPL Split 3, but JDG will have to rely on something else that can pair well with this Wukong so that Shun can get the setup necessary. And because the Rumble has been given up, ZDZ now has a chance to lock this in. We know that Xiaohao has already played a game of Silas jungle. Not sure if he wants to pull the trigger on it just yet, just cycling through some jungle answers here. There's no more heavy meta skirmishers available. Vi is still on the table, but EDG are going to hold their cards for now.
The Jhin lock-in does give them a ton of range. Equalizer lets them be able to reach out versus their opponents. Deadly Flourish plus the Curtain Call means that EDG can very easily pick off one or two members when maybe JDG are not expecting it, or if they think they have numbers. A very tanky top side of the map here, one that is entirely predicated on team fighting. Galio, Ornn, Wukong. How are you going to be able to bust through that when you have a Jhin on your team will be a very interesting question now, as expecting that this Galio is kind of blind in mid lane. Interesting draft strategy from JDG when you don't exactly know what the mid lane is going to have.
It's a massive frontline setup for JDG, and EDG are going to slam the Naafiri into it. I'm not going to lie, Alk. This is a very potent, tanky frontline that JDG have for themselves, and Jhin and Naafiri are not necessarily champions known for tank busting.
That's true, but Naafiri's build right now is pretty interesting, I would say. The Black Cleaver, getting all of those Dark and Dagger procs,
she can get the armor shred,
can make it very difficult, and does mean that the armor that a Galio is going to have isn't going to be as useful. Into Wukong especially, I think some of the dueling power is also going to be limited there. So we'll see what EDG can do with this draft. Getting rid of those hyper carries that we had noted. Again, Renata was a big focus in the early portion of the draft, but now they're getting rid of Zeri. There is still things like the Senna that we haven't seen throughout this draft already. Maybe they get rid of the Jinx. We see that now reflected.
They are really diminishing what Peyz can have left in his pool here. As you called out, no Zeri, no Jinx, no hyper carries. At least two of them taken off the table. We'll see if Peyz can dig deep into something else against this composition that EDG have in their sights. Bard taken off the table. So now Parukia, I think he will be going to a new support champion for the first time this split. Because every other champion is gone. They're going to save it to the very end.
Do not pick this. If we're going for a champion that we've seen from Angel, I think Vladimir was fine. Into the Galio, though, I'm a little worried. We talk about damage, and there is not enough frontline coming in from EDG. Honestly, this could just straight up be whatever AD carry and then pair it with a Bard. Bard gets a lot of value versus these immobile, flashless carries over on EDG.
The Bard not going to be available, though,
as
they banned it on the... JDG, what is the support pickup? It's a Caitlyn here. They have plenty of frontline, so they can give an enchanter or even a mage to Dwell to back up some extra damage. Elise Caitlyn, Lux Caitlyn, some long-range setup. Karma would at least give extra shielding to make this frontline even more unkillable. What is Parukia going to pull out to tie this composition together? Because you already mentioned it, there is a lack of enough damage here from the side of EDG into this very tanky front line. Is Elise really the answer here for Parukia?
There is a lack of... Here's the thing, though, Rafa, because I see this composition from JDG, and I'm worried that even if they get to a mid portion of the game, I think Karma interacts with this team incredibly well. You get Moonstone on this champion, you get Redemption as well. Who is killing this front line from this team? I think Wukong can be a danger in this game. The amount of knockouts that he's going to be able to provide. A dangerous bottom lane provided here. One where we're going to have to see if they can catch out this bottom lane. It won't be in the laning phase. It's going to be after Angel hits level 6. We need to see this Twisted Fate get off and find good roams, find good timings on side lanes.
If you're a JDG fan, I think you're a big fan of this composition as long as JDG do not give over massive advantages to EDG, because their composition is trying to steamroll you in the first 15 minutes of the game. And the fact that JDG have a little bit of early agency and buffering with this Caitlyn Karma lane gives them at least one lane that Shun can play around so that he is not pushed in and invaded on by Xiaohao's Naafiri. But if for some reason EDG are able to replicate the early dominance they had in Game 3, this composition could completely run over JDG.
I do want to push back on that a little bit, Raafaa. I don't think EDG are going to try to snowball over you in the laning phase. This is a composition that I think requires a lot of finesse coming in from Edward Gaming.
Sure.
And for EDG, I would actually like to see if they can push an early game lead, because you're going to have Ornn into Rumble, you're going to have this Galio very early on, even before the waves. I think Scout should be able to hold himself in the lane. I actually expect that JDG should be the composition that is really looking to either get grubs, get dragons early, so that they have something they can fall back on, because side laning is incredibly difficult for them.
Here we go. It's time to hit Summoner's Rift, maybe for the last time, between EDG and JDG in Game 4.
敌军还有30秒到达战场，碾碎。
Probably just going to lose a little bit of HP here. Can also just find a recall if he really wants it. Not all that much doing. There's also a spell book here for Angel. See, finally we're seeing a difference in our supports. Scout, don't do this to me. Do not do this to me.
He's got Peyz and Joel here to back him up, so he doesn't have to burn a summoner spell early on, but he does lose a significant amount of HP. He will be forced to recall and walk back to lane.
Oh, no. He canceled his recall. He'll walk back in. He has HP. He can play with it. It is into a Twisted Fate early. So Twisted Fate, more than likely, it's just red cards. You're throwing out your Qs, and then you're clearing the minion wave. He's already doing that now here. I need to see JDG get early dragons. Let's try to get this Caitlyn Karma around the map and let Peyz carry.
This is what the Caitlyn Karma lane is for. They noticed how little agency Peyz had in that Misfortune game. Not necessarily a super mobile and agile marksman, but does have at least one escape tool in that Piltover Caliber net. Parukia already trying to tango with Joel early on in the laning phase. Remember, this is level 1 Elise with Cocoon, so not a lot of raw power, just CC. And it's already a trade of summoner spells between Joel and On.
Junglers are on opposite sides, and they know that Wukong is on the bottom side from EDG. Xiaohao got an early ward onto that blue side. Getting a lot of brand new champions here. Angel yet to play the Twisted Fate. Xiaohao not yet to play the Naafiri this split. And Parukia as well. We talked about it. There's a lot of champion bans and a lot of focus on the support pools between these two teams. And so Shun gonna do 3 camps. Is he gonna go for an early invade? He has priority from this Caitlyn Karma. Imagine that Joel's gonna duck into bottom side jungle and see what if they can see any kind of a pressure that they can put down on the Naafiri.
Naafiri early on, now after the nerfs, is nowhere near as strong as she used to be. So Shun, knowing this, is gonna go for the invade. I think he found the smite.
Yeah.
He stole away the big monster away from Xiaohao, so now decent experience advantage, and with the push from Peyz and Joel here in the bottom lane, Xiaohao cannot get into his bottom camps.
On and Parukia are going to drop this next wave because it meets in the middle. This is just to protect their jungle, but I think Parukia, being already half HP and no heal available for On, makes this a bit tougher of an ask. Good damage coming in from Scout in the mid lane. Traps Angel underneath.
Scout making good use of that Scorch rune that he took in this setup, trying to contest Angel on the mid lane. Oh, the Cocoon doesn't quite land. Parukia getting aggressive. The Ignite is thrown out as Parukia also burns his Flash Summoner spell. Decent trade back from Joel with the Empowered Q. Forces EDG out, and not just Xiaohao, but both of the bottom laners here. Oh, Flash!
What the hell?
What is happening?
On? We're okay. I don't know what's happening anymore, Raafaa. This game is getting wild. This game is getting a little crazy, and honestly, it's getting a little messy here. Angel has dropped the waves. We're going to continue.
Electrocute! That forces the flash out of Shun's Wukong. Scout catches Angels here on the left side, but Parukia is trying to look for the collapse. Flash from Scout. They find first blood. Peyz is able to pick one up, two onto EDG's bot laner. It's just pandemonium and absolute chaos. Peyz completes the feat of warfare for JDG here at Game 4, and Xiaohao is on the run. Shun is still alive. JDG able to push EDG to the brink and find success in the first 4 minutes.
And Angel's gonna teleport back, but guess what? He's on a trap, so there's nothing for him to play for in this instant. Peyz is gonna grab this mid lane wave. Scout is gonna teleport down bottom lane, and we're already getting a rotation, a swap here. Coming on through. Angel can get a large portion of this gold. Does Xiaohao end up stealing this? Yes, he gets the Raptors back. He's gonna fight because he knows their bottom lane can't answer anymore. Gold now going over to EDG. Can he actually invade for topside camps? I mean, ZDZ could stay. Probably just needs to get a reset in. They're going to move Parukia in, and we need to invade this jungle. I don't even care about this. I don't want to see this again. I really don't want to see this on engage.
Give me the picture-in-picture, please.
Oh my god, this is such an extended trade. There's a lot of gold and experience missed here. Peyz goes to the bottom side to answer, at least get some of that for himself. There's no one else to follow up. This is incredibly messy here from EDG. I feel like maybe Angel, there's not many ways that he can flash, but Scout ends up trading for him as well, and I think that does end up kind of going in favor of JDG early on.
Peyz just really pushing himself here to put JDG on his back. There was a big investment into this Caitlyn Karma's lane setup. He had the lane dominance on lock against On and Parukia early on, and that dominance gave JDG the tools necessary to continue that extended invade. It got very messy, but in the end, Peyz reaps the rewards. 2 early kills and tier 2 boots acquired with these Berserker Greaves.
Xiaohao didn't even steal any camps, man. That was all topside taken there by Shun. He's pretty far ahead. Xiaohao will have his respawn Wolves and Gromp, but nothing else for him to take. It's a pickaxe and a long sword compared to Phage and Dagger. Shun is also a lot closer to level 5 here, and that means that we might get a very weird grub fight here, because Xiaohao's nowhere near hitting level 6 soon. So, do EDG even try to fight for it? We would like to not give the Caitlyn team a bunch of grubs, but I don't know if you have an option to with how powerful some of these ultimates from JDG are.
Duo finds the tether onto Parukia, roots him down. Trap combo laid in for Peyz, and Parukia is forced to use the repel, but he's got no enemy minions to repel to on his side of the map, so Parukia surely will go down unless Xiaohao can bail him out here. Shun needs to close the distance. A hero's entrance is forced out of Scout to join the fray. On is threatened and is sacrificed for EDG's sins, as they are not able to find any trade back.
What is my AD carry doing, man? Like, Peyz is... If Peyz loses this series, this is going to be the biggest AD carry diff of all time. Like, Peyz has played all 4 of these games so much better than his opponent, I think, on average. And On gets bailed out by the rest of his team playing a lot better than their counterparts. This time around, Peyz is 3-0. Peyz gets alone time once he finishes his recall. Does he move towards the top side to contest for these objectives? There is no ultimates now available for Scout, but I imagine when Shun finishes his camps, whether it's the Raptors going into Wolves, I think JDG still need to be able to fight for these grubs. They are so much stronger than their opponents.
Considering all the chaos that has happened in the first 7 minutes of the game here, Dimitri, JDG are only up 500 gold, and the majority of that advantage is from Peyz's Caitlyn. So as long as he is able to maintain the makings of this snowball and leverage it into a greater advantage, JDG can do absolutely what you called for and what we're hoping for from this JDG squad, to steamroll the early laning phase before EDG are able to come online with those mid-game spikes that a majority of these champions can boast.
Rumble can't be here. This is them trading this objective. It's mostly just to get Angel a wave and for On to maybe catch mid. Heroic Entrance is not available for Scout, but he should be able to muscle his way through mid. He's only walking now, but they're late.
On, not able to flash away from the call. The Forge God finally flashes away from the Justice Punch, is still alive for now. Angel gives vision of all members of JDG, but Scout is buying space with the taunt. Xiaoxu trying to flash after On, but he's got him trapped into the wall of that Raptor pit. Xiaohao trying to send it on the Scout, looks for a trade back and saves his mid laner from certain death. EDG able to get at least one in response to both Parukia and On dropping in the fight.
It's going to be 3 grubs going over to JDG. What a sloppy fight, and one where EDG, why are we fighting this yet again? We know that ZDZ's bottom side, he's going to be late to this objective. At least Edward Gaming get the dragon, because that is one way you lose the game, is giving over multiple dragons to this JDG composition. And On cannot be there in this fight, loses his flash, and then still ends up dying. He's going to be getting closer to level 6 here. Maybe there's some time here for ZDZ to push in a wave, but with Caitlyn and Karma coming, there's no way for them to play. I mean, this is just too early. Too early coming in from On and Parukia. Parukia misses the cocoon, so there's no ability for the rest of this team to play. Even with the gold card from Angel, there's just way too much damage. You see that Shun on the top side of this map even, taking down the Elise. I've got to say, Raafaa, this is not the cleanliness that we expect from EDG, but remember when we were talking about if EDG don't get a simple composition to play through, what does this team actually look like? I think they got away with having very simple drafts back in the regular season in Group Nirvana.
And now we're starting to see the answer to that concern for EDG coming into a Game 4 scenario where you called out very early on, back in Game 1 draft, once these support engage supports start diminishing in the pool throughout this best of 5, what does Parukia have left that we have not seen yet? This is his first Elise support of the entire split, and while he has impressed us with dazzling and bold plays, being our rookie of the split here in Split 3 of 2025, this has not been a strong look for him so far.
He's going to have to flash Cocoon and find Caitlyn behind her Galio and her Ornn. Not even including the Karma shields that are going to come on through with Redemption. It's a tough game if you're Parukia, and a tough game to start here for EDG. Still only down 300 gold, so as much as we've been ramping and raving about JDG and their aggressive tendencies so far, some of these CS advantages that their opponents are finding for EDG are keeping them relevant in this game, which is the bare minimum that we should be expecting.
Yeah, ZDZ, I think it's fair to say that he has gotten the better of Xiaoxu overall in, at least on average per game performance. It's definitely not been Xiaoxu's greatest series, even though he has been a constant light for JDG throughout Split 3. Even Angel has been able to get the better since Scout has dropped so much resources just to bail JDG out and ensure that they are winning a majority of these early skirmishes. We don't have another objective for at least a couple minutes, as the second dragon of the game is spawning 2 minutes and 35 seconds time. Rift Herald spawning in 3 minutes. We're seeing some first item completions here on both sides of Summoner's Rift.
Xiaoxu even gets a Kanik Rooker, and that's massive here. And with 3 grubs, Caitlyn Karma is ripping this apart.
They're just looking for Parukia, trying to bully out the rookie, and EDG are trying to flee the scene of the crime, but On is caught in the crossfire, and JDG continue to extend their lead on the top side of the map.
Just take the first turret. Let's call it a day. Let's get ourselves feats of strength here. Trinity Force, Wukong, and a fed Caitlyn. That sounds like a dream date to me. Gallo's going to get this teleport to just defend the mid-wave. JDG are now snowballing, compounding these advantages here. They're going to walk into the next few minutes with a huge advantage now. Caitlyn should recall, finish her first item. That's Collector done for Peyz. A McHale's rush here for Dwo, so maybe it's not Redemption, but you're getting a lot of value, and any lockdown that EDG were going to look towards, not possible anymore.
JDG recognizing ever since Game 3 that all of their eggs are in the Peyz carry basket here, trying to give him the keys to the kingdom and give him every single tool possible to stay alive. One cleanse is not enough against the multiple stuns that EDG have between the Cocoon and the gold card from Angel's Twisted Fate. Now that they have 2 cleanses, Peyz should feel empowered to just rip apart EDG in these upcoming fights.
And for the narrative of the series, for Peyz to do it on Caitlyn, the champion that he ended up losing to Alk on in Game 5 of their upper bracket, to pull it out here, I would say is quite a nice bow if they are to bring us to Game 5 in this series. Show us that they can go the distance. It's going to be a little worrisome in the end of things, going the distance versus Group Nirvana, but you're going to have to just take your wins as you need them, and maybe these are learning, you know, the learning growths that we need to see from JDG if they're going to make a run in the lower bracket.
Yeah. Peyz didn't really have much room to play with in that Game 3 stomp by EDG. But this time around, they have played extremely to the ideals of Peyz in the first 14 minutes of this game. They gave him a lot of turret plate gold, but was just a few hundred gold. Now nearly above 1,000 just for Peyz's Caitlyn. Xiaoxu in trouble. Angel popping the Destiny just to make sure that he can join the fray. That's a guaranteed kill and I believe, a shutdown going over to Xiaohao's pockets here on the Neferi. The second dragon spawns, and with EDG all up on the top side of the map, I imagine JDG should be able to rip this dragon for free.
They're gonna get a dragon. Scout not on this wave, but maybe the next can get himself a turret. 3 grubs is a hell of a drug. JDG, like he said, moves straight into the dragon, so Shun's gonna start this one up. It'll be that going over to their opponents. CDZ is gonna get some alone time, but Xiaoxu can respond with a teleport. And depending on how these lane assignments look for EDG once they take their recalls and spend some gold, are we gonna get a contest on the Herald that spawns in 10? Because there are some buttons that are gonna be coming up for JDG in a moment here with heroic entrance and the ace in the hole for JDG.
Still a 2,000 gold advantage for JDG. You can see it reflected here mostly in Peyz, a little bit in Shun's pockets as well. EDG have the Rod of Ages stacking here for Angel's Twisted Faith, but it's still going to be another 7 minutes before it is fully completed. I think EDG are wise enough to not risk further snowballing the game in favor of JDG on this Rift Herald, so they are just gifting over the objective for now and praying that they can have the macro decisiveness later on to contest JDG.
We'll have the Herald to be able to play with for the dragon that spawns in 4. Otacon obviously spawns in that same amount of time, so maybe a play there. Shun's going to recall, get closer to his second item, and also be very close to level 10. But right now it is looking at how EDG can move themselves around the map. They push this bottom lane wave, go through Fog of War. Maybe they look for something in mid, but there's a ward as they enter this brush. Ghost and Flash available for Angel. Flash and Ignite available for Parukia if he really wants to look. Xiaoxu is just going to reinforce his mid lane. We have everybody sitting around this lane right now.
EDG trying to take out the vision control from EDG's river entrance here on the blue side quadrant. Flash from Parukia looking for Scout, but that's a Galio. That's not the target that you want to see. Curtain call from on downtown. Finds some decent damage on the Scout, but not enough to make a good trade. Parukia is dropped, and now the Call of the Forge God forces ZDZ's Flash out. EDG now down summoner spells on multiple carries.
Herald is going to be spawned. Heroic entrance is still ready for Scout to call. Mid turret is going to fall, even with a they don't even need the demolish proc at this point. EDG are getting bullied around the map. Parukia tries to find something, but Galio is way too tanky. So, cool, you lost your Flash. I think if the biggest win for EDG's side is Shun doesn't have his summoner spell anymore, but you lost a lot for that trade, and that's a lot of really important gold now going into JDG.
Gold lead starting to balloon further for JDG. EDG are trying to make it competitive as much as possible. Angel might have a chance to push for the tier 1 turret, but Shun is on the top side of the map. Xiaoxu is walking forward just to make sure that it doesn't go down on this wave. Angel gets some decent damage. I don't think he's going to have enough time.
We're getting a replay. We get to see this again. I want to see what exactly the theory was for Parukia. Is he looking for a drill here? Maybe they think they can find Shun?
Oh, he was looking for Shun.
Yeah, even if they are able to make that happen. Remember what we were talking about from draft for EDG is that they have a lot of reach. Flash is obviously one way you can do it, but Deadly Flourish plus Equalizer combo is another way that they can get around a lot of that front line and bypass that for themselves. So seeing that they can make that play, I think it's fine. The execution obviously backfires there in favor of JDG. And they're going to continue to just keep on muscling their way through mid lane. They don't even have to go for the turret. They can take this, connect with Scout on the bottom side of the map, and put all this vision down in anticipation for the dragon that spawns soon.
At the very least, it does pull the respect of Shun forcing his own Flash on the Wukong. I mean, look at this. Peyz feels so bold that he can just E over the wall into Fog and just tango with EDG support. Equalizer's gonna cut off their retreat here. Peyz has Flash and Cleanse available. Good shield from Zhuo's Karma. Heroic entrance will stall for time on this fight. Xiaoxu now looking for the re-engage of the call of the Forge God. Angel's on the left flank trying to see if he can look into the backline, but Peyz blows up ZDZ before Angel can get into the skirmish. A massive knockup from Xiaoxu forces Xiaohao to flash away to safety. And Angel was trying to find that flank the whole time, but couldn't get in there.
They were just getting marked on every single part of the play. It's some pretty important buttons now gone from JDG. The Dragon spawns in 30 and probably just going to try to use this to move in, push some waves, get your resets in. It is Peyz who still has both of his summoner spells, finishes himself the rapid fire cannon, even gets himself the gunmetal greaves, those tier 3 boots online for this Caitlyn. Take a look back at this fight. It is Angel. He gets immediately put down with a Farsight alteration. And while the TP I think is fine, there's just too much HP from this JDG composition. We were saying that while JDG do need an early game lead, I think to make sure that this Caitlyn is going to be able to deal and get in front of EDG, the amount of HP and amount of resistances that are available to Scout and Xiaoxu, very difficult to deal with, especially with On going for a lethality build. I think he recognizes that the enemy team is not building a ton of armor. Also, Xiaohao does have Black Cleaver, so there's some pretty neat interactions between jungle and AD here. It's a matter of whether or not they can actually get that damage, and if they survive long enough in these fights.
Not only it will help at least try and burst down the tanks once they are low enough thanks to the fourth bullet execution, but at least gives On some competitive damage against someone like Peyz and Zhuo, who are not going to have armor for themselves. So even though he is significantly behind in gold, I don't dislike it. I think it's the right call for On, just to try and have as much damage as possible, even if you are behind. But now JDG have position on this Otacon, and they're going to start it up.
Single blue ward spots it out 11,000 HP. Galio has ult in 4, so he can show on this mid wave. It is getting lower and lower, and look at the trap line. It's impossible for Xiaohao to move on forward. Angel's getting interrupted.
Yeah, he got interrupted on the Destiny, was enabled to port away from Scout, who now has him locked down. ZDZ now trying to collapse onto Xiaoxu, who's looking for On onto the top side play. Scout is preventing Angel from being able to join up his team, and On is isolated from the rest of EDG, and now Scout has the opportunity to collapse in first before Angel. He's calling for his team to just drop as little sacrifices as possible. He's going for the mid-tier 1, but Xiaohao can now duel Scout. I don't know if he'll have enough chance or enough time to at least get a kill trade back, but Scout does his job, prevents EDG from contesting JDG on the Otacon, and at the very least EDG get a turret for themselves, but that's the big objective in the hands of JDG.
2 kills, a lot of summoner spells, and a fair amount of interruption there from JDG. Gets themselves the objective. Galio's going to TP and try to be a nuisance here. I think Xiaohao should be able to handle him, especially with the smite that he has access to. No teleports anywhere else from across the map. Scout is mostly just being a nuisance here. And we'll be able to pick up this bottom lane wave. JDG are starting to mount a pretty sizable lead here in this game. Take a look at what happened to Angel. Gold card buffered there. Really well played, and a last minute taunt stops the 2 mid laners from joining into this fight. With the Otacon going over, it's so tough for Jhin early on 1.5 items to deal with an Ornn. Loses his flash, loses his heal, loses his life, and EDG are losing out on the rest of this map. The only thing that's really going for them is their 2 dragons, but it is so far away from a potential soul that it is unrealistic to believe that they have much say in this game.
Yeah, at this point, EDG's bot lane has been completely out of the game for quite some time and are building pure damage because that's the only thing that will allow them to still be a threat. ZDZ push for the top tier 1, knows that his life is forfeit, at least guarantees EDG get some global gold back into their pockets, but that is now JDG with a 5-man advantage on the map for the next 35 seconds.
I want this banner on the left to go away because I really want to see where Ornn is on the experience right now, because if Angel's level 16 and they have an Otacon on their team, level 14 now, so we're going to see some masterwork items start to come on through. Everybody at home, please put your most valuable item in the first slot. If I am Peyz, I'm waiting for my Infinity Edge. I'm putting that in the first slot, and I'm getting that upgraded immediately for Xiaoxu. They're going to get themselves a mid lane tier 1 or tier 2, and Scout is in the wings waiting right below them.
Xun and Peyz have remained deathless so far, and that's why they have the big objective bounties on their heads right now. Jewel also deathless, but not the valuable target.
He's Karma,
that EDG
bro. We don't
might
care.
wanna-
We don't care if
Yep.
he's deathless. He's zero. He's playing Karma.
That's why he doesn't have an objective bounty. But EDG can keep that in mind. If they're able to find a pick, it's going to be difficult, though. Mercury Treads was already completed by Xun quite some time ago, so the tenacity resisting the ability for EDG to find a layering of single target CC.
This could be a pick.
Xiaoxu forced to flash away. Flash gold card from Angel. Good buffer by the Bellows Breath, but I don't think it matters. Xiaoxu is still locked down and not close enough to the rest of his team. We call the Forge God interrupted as JDG sends Scout to try and bail out his top laner, but the rest of EDG are piling on in. They're committing. That's the equalizer. It cuts off Peyz, but the rest of the team, he's isolated. If EDG find Peyz here, it could be big. Scout gets dropped. Xiaohao sends it, is able to use the Eviscerate to get back over the wall to safety. EDG, for the first time this game, have a numbers advantage on the map.
That was exactly the fight that they needed to take. Oh, does it execute? No. It allows for Parukia to recall. And Baron is now on the table. 20 seconds before Xiaoxu was up. 25 before Scout can join in. He has no teleport. They do not have enough HP versus his Caitlyn. We need to get back into our lanes, back into position. That is exactly the pick that EDG want to have if they have any chance of being relevant in this game, number 4.
The fact that EDG solo laners are still giving an avenue, a window to come back into this game, pouncing on Xiaoxu on this top side and punishing Scout for over-investing into trying to bail out his top laner here.
I mean, this is the reach that we were talking about, right? If you show up on a halfway in a minion lane wave, well then guess what? We're just going to be able to show up with both ZDZ and our Jhin from the other side of the rift right now. So this is a good execution of what this EDG composition wanted to do. The early game was incredibly sloppy, but this is what they need to be able to get down in the mid game if they want to be able to fight back. Now the gold is 2,000, still in favor of JDG, and those shutdowns on Xun and Peyz are what EDG are going to have to look for if they want to fight back here. We're going to see more items being completed. Xiaoxu should have now, he's still level 14. If he can get, I think maybe 1 or 2 more mid lane waves, he gets level 15, he can award another Masterwork item. It's going to be a collector now, finished for, the Masterwork anyway, for Peyz.
The fact that Peyz opted in for the rapid fire cannon second gave him the extra safety to protect this objective bounty on his head, but it definitely meant that he took a pit stop in terms of meaningful damage to try and threaten EDG when they were making these plays in the mid game. Once he gets the Infinity Edge, he's going to be dealing a lot of pain to EDG's individual members here as Jwo and the rest of JDG trying to empower Peyz to siege up this tier 2 tower.
Can we just talk about the fact that EDG were the ones that lost the Otacon, and yet they're even in experience almost across the board? Angel gets the cheat because he has a Rod of Ages right now. Dragon spawns now. Angel has Teleport, Ult, and Ghost. They should be looking for it. They're trying to run around. There's an RFC available for Angel. He does a hell of a lot of damage here. Equalizer can help them buy at least time for 1 more minion wave.
Scout looking for the collapse. Called the Forge God is called by Xiaoxu, finds knockup onto On, but no one from JDG can get in range to collapse. They get the tier 2 turret for their troubles, and the rest of EDG hold the line here, not allowing the rest of JDG to step up. Peyz takes a lot of damage. The curtain call is blocked by Xiaoxu on the way out. No way for EDG to meaningfully punish here, as Peyz will take a recall.
Angel's gonna recall. Does he teleport immediately? No. Still has that ultimate in Destiny. Peyz and Jwo are gonna have to walk all the way back over to this play right now. And there's not enough buttons, I think, from EDG to play for the Dragon. So JDG will get the 4th Dragon of the game. It'll be their 2nd on their side. See that On and Parukia are gonna reset. It's just gonna be EDG right now, focusing on gold. Let's get some of these jungle camps that we've been denied for Xiaohao.
JDG are definitely being pushed to the limits here, even though they had such a strong early game advantage. You can see remnants of what happened in game 2, how strong EDG were able to hold the line and raise their defenses against JDG and really making them sweat to try and close out that game. I feel like we're gonna get something similar here in game 4.
One can hope. I know you're a big EDG fan. It would be an incredible story to see EDG find a best of 5 win versus yet another Group Ascend team. But JDG, They do not want to go out. They do not want to lose any chance of making an international this year here in this series.
And there's also something to root for in JDG, which is why it is so anxiety-inducing for me to cast this series, because ever since the beginning, I have been championing this roster of discarded kings who have been dropped by former orgs and former teams that they were finding success on in the past, trying to come together and make the remnants of, on paper, should be a super team, but have obviously struggled throughout the 2025 season. They're trying to make a comeback now and push EDG to a Game 5 to keep their chances for a Worlds run still alive for JDG.
Scout has to pick up a top lane wave. JDG immediately get control through mid. Angel's in a weird spot right now. He does have flash. There's a teleport behind.
They're looking for On, maybe. Call of the Force God goes wide. Angel gives them vision with Destiny. Xiaohao able to distance himself away with the E. On stuns of Scout in the front line. Now he's looking to turn around with the curtain call. Equalizer over the top. Peyz is forced to E backwards. That's a lot of damage. Redemption Angel's flanking onto the back line, at least threatening. Scout tries to step forward, gets caught by the deadly flourish. EDG are playing with range and trying to bait out cooldowns for the side of JDG, but the patience might be rewarded here. Xiaoxu taking up a lot of damage. Parukia goes in, forced to repel away. Shun already burned the Cyclone, but doesn't find a knock-up onto anyone. They knock up there onto Angel. He's forced to flash away. Taunt from Scout. Gets the cleanse out of Angel. The rest of EDG crowding around onto the bottom side of the map. There's a lot of fighting from EDG, but they're holding the line. And JDG can't find a window to get the advantage that they want in this game. CDZ now finally isolated. Peyz blinks him back to the fountain with the power of that Infinity Edge he just purchased. Angel still holding the line with the side of EDG, but there's no dragon to play for on the bottom side. They're just trying to use range. Parukia gets popped by Shun. On, isolated now. There's no way out for him. Shun should be able to have one more gap closer left in the tank. It's the ace in the hole that damages On's health bar. Shun just needs one more Nimbus strike to send On back to the fountain. JDG prevail and win the fight.
Can Xiaohao live long enough? Oh, he's just dead. That's another auto attack. That's Peyz moving forward, and that's Peyz finding the jungler of EDG. It won't be enough for them to end the game, but maybe they can get some waves push and get ready for the dragon in 2 minutes time. EDG, they try to push and pull away at JDG's front line, but so much HP and not enough damage from Edward Gaming. Maybe it's enough for them to start up this Baron. I think this Guardian Angel from Shun is doing overtime for this player.
He hasn't even popped it yet, and Peyz has only burned a cleanse in that fight. He still has his Flash Summoner spell. They still have a Mikhails from Jewel. So now JDG can coordinate and ensure that Peyz is kept alive in the next fight.
So tough to kind of squeeze out when they have all of these actives, and Redemption especially is such a disgusting support item right now. Being able to revitalize your team, give yourself multiple thousands of HP back in a fight, as well as damage versus the enemy team. JDG now get the Baron. They now move into top side. Maybe they try to look at Angel, but he has a lot of MS. He has teleport and barrier available to himself now. Not enough to play for, but a lot of gold and a lot of resources being taken away from EDG.
The 6,000 gold advantage in favor of JDG now here at the 32-minute mark. Dragons are even. The Grubs and the Otacon on their side have at least given them enough of an advantage to try and contest EDG as they push to try and siege through the inhibitor towers.
Oh, I feel bad for Parukia. He got blocked by a Void Might there. Uses Proto Belt, try to look for something. This might be the last bit that we see from EDG here in this game number 4. Parukia gets chunked out. Peyz is fearless on this Caitlyn. The range at which he can interact with his opponents, unmatched, unrivaled. And now JDG completely assaulting the base.
That rapid fire cannon empowered headshot just takes out nearly a third, almost a half of ZDZ's health bar. And the rest of JDG pulls. Peyz gets caught there by Cocoon, but he's able to dash back away to the redemption there. Keeps his health bar topped off. Xiaohao, of course, to use the call of the pack for the invulnerability. Once again, Peyz completely remains fearless as he steps up and threatens EDG with the power of this rapid fire cannon, still with a flash in his inventory, in his arsenal to use, as he eases forward, continuing to chunk out members of EDG. On is forced to go back to the base.
Honest dead. Honest is going to die to an No!
No, they don't set the call. The Forge God on top of the curtain call. They just don't care. They just do not care that On can put out any damage. Heroic entrance gives the space necessary for Peyz to thrive. Nexus towers die, and EDG don't have any health left in the tank here. JDG pull through. We're going to game 5.
And in the most dominant game to match game number 3, JDG, they're going to send us the distance. They're going to keep our hopes alive at a potential Worlds run for both of these teams. Goddamn, for all those, let's just get the predictions up just real quick.
Yep.
So many people thought this was going to go to 5. Even us, even with our 3-0 predictions, we knew that this series had the potential to go the distance here. And now, on either side, one final game to decide whose 2025 is going to end here in September.
It either now ends in a 3-2 victory for EDG or a 3-2 victory from JDG. I can't say I'm surprised, but when you look at how close some of the early games were from both teams, where JDG had a significant advantage in game 1, and then it was thrown away, and it ends up in an EDG victory. Think about how different the series could have been if JDG had been able to win that game. The series would have been over. The nightmare would have been over. The pressure would have been off the shoulders of JDG members. Same story for EDG. You called it. You set it up at the end of game 3. Imagine they don't let the Otacon go to JDG for free in game 2. Could have been a 3-0 for EDG. We are now pushed to the limit here, Alk. Both teams having the go to distance here in game 5.
Important one. You mentioned about how this JDG roster has suffered through so many hardships. The breakdowns of communication, we see them in playoffs, crash and burn kind of runs throughout the regular season. Massive changes. I mean, you've had 2 coaching staff changes throughout the year, losing CV Max in the middle of Split 2, then moving over to Clear Love, who kind of looked like he was all over the place, especially early on in the Split 3. You had 3 separate supports walk through these doors. There is a lot of hurdles that this team has had to jump through. It's been a tough year from JDG, not from a fan perspective, but also from a team perspective. And to potentially lose out to a Group Nirvana roster, and now you're struggling here. You struggled versus BLG. You're now struggling versus EDG. These discarded Kings could very easily find their 2025 ending about the same way that it did just last split.
They at least keep the hopes alive here, not going down yet here in the lower bracket. As you call back to Split 2, it was a very unexpected and disappointing end to their Split 2 playoffs run after having, for the most part, a very competitive Split 2 Rumble stage. Yes, we saw early warning signs of Scout being inconsistent over the course of the stage, but Peyz was by far the best AD carry, at least performance-wise, in Split 2 for LPL during the regular season. Shun was contesting one of the top performing jungler spots for All-Pro in Split 2. And JDG still trying to lean back on those strengths here in Game 4. We called it out before when we saw the draft. All the eggs were in the Peyz basket to get that advantage early, and the super chaotic, very messy invade extended play we saw from both teams ended up, rightfully so, in JDG's advantage. And they were able to persist and push through. There is definitely concerns were in scenarios where we thought JDG have not been able to close out games cleanly. It has bitten them in the past, even in this series alone, but they are able to endure enough, and it's all on Peyz. Acting fearless, playing boldly on the front lines, dashing forward with a Caitlyn in the face of EDG, and not one time he goes down.
I love this bot lane pair. I think the draft ended up working for this team. Obviously, the level of play that we've seen from Peyz. 4 games now, I think, regardless of the result, Peyz has gotten the better of On so far, and that is going to continue to be a running line here in this series. Whether or not they can kind of neutralize the matchup, I think Jhin, in theory, is really good at being able to do that versus your counterpart. But We're seeing time and time again that JDG can rely on their AD carry. I don't know that EDG can say the same. And if we're getting even matchups where we're getting Ornn into Rumble, we're getting similar matchups like Galio, you don't have to be able to outplay your opponents. All you have to do is just be relevant in team fights. Yes, there were a couple of mistakes. I think Xiaoxu getting caught gave EDG angles back into this game, but the resiliency and I think the usefulness, the utility that you get from these champions proved overbearing for EDG.
I'm so nervous for this Game 5, Alk, because I know that no matter which team ends in triumph, there's going to be heartbreak on the other end of it. And honestly, it is devastating to have to say goodbye to one of these two teams. For JDG, a roster that has had so much individual success in prior years on different teams, struggling to get it together, they're able to push through a Game 5. But on the other side, EDG is a team that sparked a fire with Parukia coming in, the breakout rookie of the split, trying to revitalize a flame that has not burned for EDG in quite some time. If they lose this series, their Worlds run ends here as well.
Easy MVP vote for Peyz. I think we're all
Absolutely.
in agreement with that. We gave that one pretty early on into this game. Coming into the next game, everybody at home, get excited. We got Silver Scrapes. We've got Game 5. And most importantly, all supports are off the table at this point. No mids are going to be as clean. Are we going to get more Nico permabans? Is Azir going to stay on the table? Where is Poppy here in this series? A lot to be decided in one final draft tonight.
Like Alk said, we wouldn't expect any other player to get the MVP for this Game 4. Peyz, perfect score, 9-0-6 on the Caitlyn. Producer Kai, let's roll it on through. Let's get Silver Scrapes running. It's time to see how this story ends.